The world of XC racing is fast, furious, and fun. Ain't no doubt about it, but it can be pretty intimidating and scary to the uninitiated. So fear not, I got your back, Jack. We are gonna dive into some of my top XC racing tips. So pour a brew, sit back, relax, and here we go. Yep, we're diving into the lycra-clad world of XC racing. So whether you're a first-time lycra-clad racer or an experienced gel drinker, I have got you covered. And let's kick things off with preparation. Make sure your bike is prepped, primed, and ready. There's nothing worse than getting to a race or riding and lining up on the start line and snap, your chain goes as soon as you start to pedal. That is embarrassing and just really frustrating. So days or possibly the night before at the very latest, give your bike a good once over, check that nothing's worn out, like the chain, brake pads, nothing that's going to affect you on race day. Everything's tight, working properly as it should, brakes bled, things like that. Just anything you can do to eliminate any race day worries. And talking of race day worries, you don't want to be lining up really tired either. No, make sure a good couple of nights beforehand you're well rested. I mean, I like to party, but it's probably not best the night before a cross-country race. So some good early nights, some solid sleep, and nothing too strenuous in the days leading up to it either. There's no point you don't want to be going out doing a really intense training ride or anything like that the weekend of the race. It's just gonna wear your body down a little bit and make it a bit tough. Lastly, when it comes to prep, I like to have a bit of a game plan. So whether you're turning up on the morning of the race or you're going there the night before, you can still kind of do these things. I like to go and walk the course if I've got time, because then I can find out where A and B lines potentially are, what lines are quicker, what's slower. Also where the tech feed zones are. These are the areas that you are actually allowed to be given bottles. Apart from the ones that you carry on your bike, of course, you can take fresh bottles or do mechanical work on your bike, you can pull in there. So you can have some spare wheels stashed or a tyre, whatever you might need to be. So it's really useful to know where those are. Let's talk starts then. Now, it's not all about getting the whole shot, but getting a good start can impact your race massively. Pulling a whole shot, or at least being right up there, is gonna make your life during the race a whole bunch easier. Sadly, this is trickier than it sounds, unfortunately, because a lot of races are gridded, meaning that where you start on the grid, first, second, third, fourth, fifth row, is done normally by pre-qualifying or a predetermined position, maybe a national ranking or something like that. So if you are a noob to the race, if you've not done any before, unfortunately, sadly, you're going to be gridded somewhere near the back. But don't worry, all is not lost. If you are gridded further back, then you're just gonna have to get a bit creative. That means a bit of argy-bargy, elbows out, and looking for gaps in the pack to thread your way through where you can. If you're lucky enough to be seated on the front row or near the front of the grid, well then keep your eye on the starter. That's what I do. As soon as you see that trigger finger, if it's a starting gun go, that's when I'm off. If it's someone lifting the tape, well then as soon as I see them flinch, I'm in the right gear and I'm out of there. But how do we actually do a start? I'm gonna show you my start technique a minute, so here it is. My start technique then, I've got my lead foot primed and ready at the top of its stroke, ready to push down. Gearing at the back, I'm in a generally about 4th or 5th, depending upon the surface. And what I'm doing is I'm leaning forwards, I'm primed ready, I'll be looking over at that starter, and as soon as the gun or the barrier goes up, I'm already standing outside, or basically it's pushed down. As I push down, I'm clipping in and then sprinting, dropping down through the gears. And we're off. So I'm looking at the starter, but in this case it's Louis. Louis, give us a start. And we're off, and it's down. Woohoo! Pacing is racing. Holding down a good steady pace that you can maintain for the entirety of the race is a really useful thing to be able to do. There's no point going off the blocks, all guns blazing, only to find you get absolutely burying yourself by halfway through the race and you're going into the red and you can't get back out of it and you don't finish. Hold down a pace then you know you can sustain for the entirety of the race. There's no point going along to a competition and not being able to finish. That's no fun. A great way of just knowing what kind of pace that you can keep up is by sort of listening to your body, or even in practice or if you do some training, things like that beforehand, you'll kind of know and get in tune with yourself as to how hard that you can go, and listening to your body, knowing that it might be screaming, your legs are on fire, so you think, right, well, I am really struggling here. It's gonna be time to rein it in. There's no shame in reining it in if it does get you to the end. Another great way of maintaining or sustaining a pace and just keeping an eye on what's going on is using a bit of technology to help you out. My little Garmin here, I generally don't ride or race without, very rarely, because it's got all the data on here that I can use to help just sort of keep track of how I'm getting along. So if I'm using a power meter, then I can see those numbers on here and I know what kind of power numbers I can put out for what sort of period. Same with my heart rate. And even if you don't have a really sophisticated bike computer, it doesn't matter. If you've got something simple, just being able to keep track of the time, so how long you've been racing for. If you know your race is an hour long, you get to 45 minutes in, but you're really struggling, well, you know, right, I've got 15 minutes to go. I just need to dial it back a little bit for that and just keep on plodding and I can get to the end. But yeah, a bit of modern technology can really help you go the distance. Stay alert, people. There is a lot going on during a cross-country race. It can get pretty hectic, so here are my key things to look out for. First up, ride your own race. Don't get caught up in the moment. It can be pretty exciting, and then when you're in the zone and the adrenaline's going, you're like, I can do this, and you start chasing after the leaders, and if it's your first race, you're like, ha, whatever, I'll get them, I'll chase after them, but actually, going back to pacing, you are gonna kill yourself in the long run. Don't be ashamed to just ride your own race. Go at the speed, at the tempo that you feel comfortable. Just get a couple of races under your belt maybe, and then you can drop the hammer and go chase those leaders. Use your peripherals, and that's looking all around you. Riders can pop out from anywhere, especially when you're trying to overtake or even be overtaken. Nobody wants that. Just keep an eye on everything and everyone that's going on around you. A little trick I like to use here is actually using, say another rider is behind me and I can see him, I will use each lap to gauge whether he's gaining or I'm pulling away from him. So if I'm ride past the tree and I can see him come past a certain point of reference on the other side of the track maybe, and then the next lap round he's already passed it, when I get to the tree I'm like, oh crikey, he's catching up, I need to chip on. Tasty food and water. They ain't just gonna keep you alive, they are actually gonna help you get through a race in this instance. And they can really make a huge difference as to whether or not you bonk and you crash out, or you actually get the kick and the energy and the nutrition that you need to be able to go the full distance of the race. Now, it's not all about just consuming vast quantities of, well, pretty much everything. However, if you are doing absolute marathon racing, then yes, you are going to need to consume and you are going to need to drink an awful lot. Specifics will help here, so let's start with food. Gels and bars can be your friend here. They're lightweight, they're pretty compact, and they are jam-packed, usually full of all the goodness that you need. They're easy to stash in your backpack or your pockets and things like that, and they're really quick and easy to consume, especially the gels. So let's take a little bit more of an in-depth look at just how often, maybe before, during, and after exercise or your race, you should be taking on the right kind of food. 24 to 36 hours before race day, try to consume food rich in carbs. Think porridge, pastas, rice and potatoes. And you can spice it up with a little chicken and veg just to keep things crazy. 1 to 4 hours before the race, you want to keep them glycogen stores topped up. So similar foods, maybe just not in the same amount, will do the trick. Think low fiber though, this might help avoid any tummy upset. During racing, you want to consume around 45 grams of carbs every 45 minutes. Think little and often. This is where the quick and easy gels will come into their own. Post-race is all about topping up. Therefore, we're going to go all in. Think high protein and nutrients to aid the muscles and body to get back up to strength. Food done, is now on to hydration, and basically here we're talking about just keeping the body topped up with electrolytes. These little suckers are jam-packed full of all the salts and minerals that you are going to sweat out. So keeping those levels topped up to avoid any kind of dehydration is crucial. We're all different, so how much we sweat and how much fluids we actually lose is going to change person to person, as is our requirements. But as a rule of thumb, every 30 to 45 minutes, you should be consuming 500 ml of fluid. Now, in that, I would probably recommend dropping in what's called like a little energy tab, like a dissolvable tablet. Those are jam-packed full of, like I said, electrolytes, so they really help boost and top up the body's loss as you're exercising. On the lead up to the event, make sure you are taking in plenty of fluids, but listen to your body. There's no point just keep on drinking and drinking, because you're actually just going to pee out all the good stuff. You can only consume so much. So listen to your body, make sure you're dehydrated, don't be overdoing it, and have fun racing. Hydration right there. Right, that is it. Some XC racing tips from me, who has dabbled in a bit of XC racing, so I hope they have really helped you out, whether you're an experienced racer or maybe for the first time. Let me know how you get on in the comments down below, because I love to hear from you guys and girls. It's always really interesting. If you want to see more XC content on the channel, also do let us know. I tell you what, if you want to come hang out with us and you fancy coming to a festival, then you can also get tickets to the Global Bike Festival in June in Saalbach. Tickets linked in the description down below there. Come hang out with all of us. It's going to be good fun, parties, music and bikes. What more could you want? But for me, for now, I'm out of here. Cheers everyone, I'll see you later.